So chapter 11 is our last chapter in General Chemistry 1, and it sort of rounds out what we have as chapters that deal with molecular structure. So again, chapters 9, 10, and 11 start thinking about chemical bonding, then start thinking about molecular structures and drawing structures of covalent compounds. And then finally in this chapter, we sort of pull it all together and really think about how and why that happens. And so we begin to use those Lewis structures that we've drawn in a different way. And so we talk about how the orbitals must overlap in order to form those covalent bonds that we have in our molecular structures. So everything kind of builds together. We have to have correct Lewis structures. We have to be able to think about the correct electron group arrangement, so that coding that we have with the A's, the X's, and the E's, because from that we determine how we are going to mix atomic orbitals together to make the molecular orbitals that we have in our covalent molecules. So 3 kind of skills that we deal with in this chapter. The first is how we think about making those hybrid orbitals and determining atom hybridization. So questions you might see involve things like, what is the hybridization of that central atom? And there are things like sp2 or sp3d1 or things like that. So that's determining hybridization. And then when we think about covalent bonding, we want to describe covalent bonding. We sort of had a Mad Libs to talk about the 2 kinds of bonds that we're going to see. Sigma bonds, which are end-on overlap, and then pi bonds, which are side-to-side overlap. And so not only do we have a different geometry of the orbitals that overlap, but we have a different kind of orbital that overlaps. It's always hybridized orbitals to make sigma bonds, and unhybridized orbitals to make pi bonds. And at the very end, we'll understand how that relates to some of the physical and chemical properties we see of molecules with those bonds.